Men over 50. If you quietly believe that drinking a little baking soda is enough to improve circulation, boost stamina, or bring back your confidence in those private moments, then that belief may be the very thing keeping you stuck exactly where you don't want to be. I know that might surprise you, because baking soda isn't useless. It does play a role in your body's biochemistry, but using it alone rarely creates real change, and many men get trapped in this cycle of hope, disappointment, then hope again, without understanding why their body stays silent. My name is Dr. Emily Carter, a urologist with over 14 years of experience working with older men. Men who were once strong, confident, and full of energy, but who now find themselves asking questions they never imagined. Why isn't my body responding the way it used to? Today, I'm going to explain clearly, scientifically, and in a way that makes perfect sense. Why circulation and nitric oxide change after 51st. Why baking soda is only half the story. And what actually happens when you combine it with a second powder, something that might be sitting in your kitchen right now, but you've never paid attention to. Everything I share here is for educational purposes. It's not medical treatment, and it doesn't replace your personal doctor, but it will help you understand your body better. And that is always the most important first step. If you're ready, let's begin. There's something most people will never say to you directly. The changes after 50 don't just happen in your body. They happen in your confidence, in your identity, and in the way you see yourself. I meet men who used to be unshakable, men who once felt their body respond with strength from just a glance or a single touch, but slowly, that certainty fades. Today, many of them lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, asking, when did I change? Why doesn't my body listen anymore? Am I getting old? But they don't say it out loud, not to their wives, not to their friends, not even to their doctors. Men choose silence. They hide the fear of losing their strength, their connection, their sense of control. And I've seen that sadness in countless eyes, a quiet loneliness they pretend isn't there. But I want you to hear this clearly. You are not weak. You are not broken. This is not the end. Your body isn't failing you. It's simply changing slowly, quietly, in ways most men are never prepared for. Everything you're feeling, cold hands, weaker legs, fading stamina, or silence in intimate moments, is not your fault. It's chemistry, and chemistry can be supported, adjusted, and balanced again. That's exactly why we need to talk about these two simple powders almost every man has in his kitchen. Yet few understand how they actually work. But before I go deeper, if anything I've said resonates with you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel exists specifically for men's health after 50, and I want to hear from you. Drop a comment with your age and the country or state you're watching from. I read every single comment. They help me understand this community and create the lessons that serve you best. Now, to understand why these two powders matter, you need to know one extremely important truth about your body after 50. Men at this age don't just experience changes in strength or hormones. The biggest change happens inside the blood vessels. When you're young, your blood vessels are soft, flexible, and produce a crucial molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide acts like a signal to open the gates, letting blood flow warm, strong, and energized throughout your whole body. But after 50, several factors put pressure on your circulation. Long-term stress, poor sleep, medications, sitting too much, high salt, sugar, and processed foods, and especially the body becoming slightly more acidic. When acidity rises, even just a little, something important happens. Nitric oxide drops. And when nitric oxide drops, blood vessels don't open well. Blood moves slower. Hands and feet get cold. Stamina drops. And intimate moments become unpredictable. The important thing is this. This is not because you're weak, not because you lost your masculinity, and not because aging ends the game. It's chemistry, and chemistry can be supported and corrected. This is where baking soda comes in, but not in the way most men think. I want you to picture it this way. A body after 50 is like a machine that's been running non-stop for decades. It's not broken, but the environment inside has changed, and everything starts to slow down. One of the quietest changes is a slight rise in acidity. Acid isn't the enemy, but when it builds up over time, it weakens the function of the endothelium, the very lining of your blood vessels, in ways you can't easily feel. And that endothelium is the place where nitric oxide is made. If the environment becomes too acidic, nitric oxide drops, and circulation begins to struggle. That's why baking soda, something most men think of as a cooking ingredient or deodorizer, gets mentioned so often. In theory, baking soda acts as a buffer. It helps neutralize excess acidity, and when the environment becomes less acidic, the endothelium can produce nitric oxide more effectively. Some men notice it right away. Their body warms up, they feel less tired, circulation feels smoother. But here's the problem most men fall into. They use only baking soda. They think, this will fix everything. But baking soda is just the path clearer. It opens the door, but it cannot carry the entire circulatory system by itself. And if you rely on it alone, you're only walking half the journey, because there is still a missing link, a second powder almost no one thinks about. Yet it's absolutely essential. So what can baking soda actually do? And why does it still disappoint so many men? The potential benefits. It reduces excess acidity. It creates a friendlier environment for nitric oxide. Some men feel warmer, lighter, less fatigued. But here's the truth I want you to remember. Baking soda is not magic. It's only one part of the biochemical story. And more importantly, it has very real limitations and warnings. Baking soda contains sodium. If you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, heart failure, or a low-sodium diet, you must talk to your doctor before taking any amount, even a small one. Too much can cause bloating, nausea, electrolyte imbalance, a temporary spike in blood pressure in sodium-sensitive men, and most importantly, baking soda alone cannot deliver what men expect. It helps the environment, but not the performance of the blood vessels themselves. And this is exactly where we move into the most important part. The second powder. When combined with baking soda, it forms an entirely new compound, a biological substance. Your blood vessels respond to far more strongly than either ingredient alone. This brings us to the part almost no man has ever considered, even though it's sitting right in his kitchen, his baking cabinet, or on a grocery shelf he's walked past hundreds of times. Citric acid, a sour-tasting powder used for cooking, candy making, and food preservation, something most men assume has nothing to do with health. But this is where everything changes. When baking soda and citric acid meet water, they don't just mix, they transform. They create a new compound called sodium citrate. And sodium citrate is the substance your blood vessels actually listen to. Think of it like this. Baking soda is the door opener. Citric acid is the reaction activator. But sodium citrate is the one that walks through the door and gets the real job done. From a physiological perspective, sodium citrate can reduce oxidative stress on the endothelium, helping nitric oxide stay active longer instead of being destroyed too quickly. Make red blood cells more flexible, helping them enter the tiniest capillaries where oxygen determines stamina, warmth, and performance. Support ATP energy production, allowing the smooth muscles of the blood vessels to open more easily and stay open more consistently. In other words, sodium citrate amplifies what baking soda starts. That's why so many men describe sensations like warmth, spreading through the chest and arms, sharper mental clarity, a feeling of blood flowing again, and a return of masculine vitality after months of silence, not because baking soda is powerful, not because citric acid is powerful, but because together they create a completely new compound, one that the circulatory system after 50 responds to far more strongly. But this power only shows up when you understand the right timing and safe usage, and that's what comes next. The body isn't an on-off switch. It's a biological machine that needs time to shift into a new state. And for many men, the difference between feeling nothing and feeling a very real change comes down to one thing: timing. Biologically, once baking soda and citric acid convert into sodium citrate, the body goes through a sequence of circulatory changes. 0-20 minutes. Blood acidity begins to shift slightly. The endothelium feels less pressure. 20-30 minutes. Some men notice warmth in the hands or chest, almost like a small sunrise inside the body. 30-45 minutes. More sodium citrate is absorbed. Red blood cells start sliding more easily through small capillaries. ATP begins rising, helping blood vessels relax and open. 45-60 minutes. The readiness window. Many men describe a lighter body, comfortable heartbeat, clearer mind, a sense of confidence returning. Not 60-90 minutes. This is often the peak period where circulatory effects, if they occur, feel most noticeable. But here's what I want to say very clearly. Not every man should use this mixture. Not everyone absorbs it the same way. And you should never mix strong doses or take it multiple times a day, because this combination contains sodium, and it is absolutely not suitable for men with kidney disease, uncontrolled high blood pressure, heart failure, strict low-sodium diets, medications that affect electrolytes. If you fall into any of these groups, you must talk to your doctor first. If you're generally healthy, you still need to start slow, go gently, and observe how your body reacts. Everything I'm sharing here is to help you understand the mechanism. The actual way you use it must depend on your health, your labs, and your medications. Here's the fascinating part. The real benefit of this mixture isn't the 1-hour window. The true value lies in the long-term effect, when used correctly and under the right medical guidance. Because when the internal environment is supported consistently, the endothelium begins to recover. Nitric oxide becomes more stable. Red blood cells deliver oxygen more efficiently, and the body feels warmer, stronger, and more responsive throughout the day. When circulation improves, men often notice it's easier to stand up, walking feels lighter, they're less tired climbing stairs, rest becomes deeper, and confidence returns in intimate moments. But I want you to remember this: no powder can replace a healthy lifestyle. Strong circulation still requires daily walking, light strength training, less sugar and fried foods, lower stress, enough sleep, and regular checkups. The baking soda plus citric acid mixture is just a tool, not a miracle. It's like lifting the curtain so the light can enter, but the entire house still needs care. And finally, the message I want every man to hear: your body after 60 can still recover, your blood vessels can still be supported, and your masculine vitality can absolutely return. Age is not the end. It's simply a new map, and you can learn to walk this road with understanding, intention, and strength. I want to tell you the story of George Miller, a 6-7-year-old man I met not long ago. George is the kind of man people look at and think, he's strong, nothing can break him. But the truth was very different. He walked into my clinic, avoiding eye contact, sat down quietly, and his hands were ice cold. When I asked him how he was feeling, George didn't answer right away. He just exhaled and said softly, "Emily, I'm not myself anymore." He told me that lately, his hands and feet were always cold. Walking a short distance exhausted him. And worst of all, those private moments had become a battle against his own body. His wife was worried, but George felt ashamed, not because he lost ability, but because he no longer felt like himself. I explained to George that his problem wasn't immediately about testosterone, and it wasn't about getting weak. It was a story about circulation, nitric oxide, and the fact that after 60, the body sometimes needs a bit of gentle support to regain balance. We reviewed his overall health together: blood work, kidney function, heart function. After confirming everything was safe, I explained the mechanism behind sodium citrate, how some men use it to support circulation, not as a treatment, but as a small, scientifically grounded aid. George didn't jump into high doses. He followed each step slowly, carefully, listening to his body. He added a few habits: a 20-minute daily walk, less sugar, more water. 3 weeks later, George returned for a follow-up. This time, He walked in with a small but vibrant smile. He said, "It feels like someone turned a switch back on inside me. Not magic, not a miracle. But I'm back, Emily." What made me happiest wasn't just that his circulation improved. It was his eyes, the eyes of a man who had found hope again. And that is what matters most. But before you think about trying any mixture, even if it's just 2 simple kitchen powders, I need you to hear this clearly. There are symptoms you absolutely must not ignore, must not treat at home, and must never experiment with before seeing a doctor. Chest pain, shortness of breath, tightness, severe dizziness or fainting, calf pain while walking, possible peripheral artery disease, swelling, warmth, or redness in one leg, possible blood clot, numbness, facial drooping, slurred speech, stroke signs, fast or irregular heartbeat, blood in urine, pelvic pain, unexplained fever, unintentional weight loss, leg or ankle swelling, or shortness of breath at night. If you have any of the following conditions, kidney failure, heart failure, uncontrolled hypertension, a strict low-sodium diet, electrolyte disorders, or if you're taking diuretics, blood pressure medications, or blood thinners, do not use baking soda or citric acid without speaking to your doctor first. Remember, this video is for education only, to help you understand mechanisms, your body, and your circulation. It is not a treatment guide. Every man is different. Every man has different medications and different risks. Safety always comes first. Before we wrap up, let me summarize the 3 most important lessons from today's video. Point 1. After 50, the body changes. Circulation slows, nitric oxide drops, and the internal environment becomes slightly more acidic. That's why you feel cold, weaker, and less confident. This is not weakness. This is chemistry. Point 2. Baking soda has a role, but it is not the key. When combined with citric acid, it becomes sodium citrate, a compound the blood vessels respond to far more strongly. Used correctly, the combination is more effective than either ingredient alone. Point 3. No formula replaces a healthy lifestyle. If sodium citrate is appropriate for you, it is only a small puzzle piece in a much bigger strategy for better circulation, more energy, and restored masculine vitality. And most importantly, your time is not over. You are not done. You just need to understand your body in a new language. If this video has given you a new insight, a new understanding, or even just a small spark of hope that your body can become strong again, go ahead and hit like. That small action truly makes a difference. It tells YouTube that men's health content for those over 50 is not only important, but deserves to be prioritized for the many men who are silently struggling just like you. And if you know a man, a friend, a brother, a father, someone you care about, share this video with him, because many men will never say it out loud, but inside, they carry the same fears, the same worries, and the same silence. They might not search for information on their own. They might feel embarrassed or unsure, but a video like this can sometimes be the bridge that helps them begin their journey back to strength and confidence. Now, I want to hear from you. I want to understand your story, so I can support you in the most practical and meaningful way. What worries you most right now? Is it your circulation, your prostate, or those intimate moments that don't feel as stable as they used to? Leave a comment below, even just a few words. I read every single one, line by line, and your comments are what inspire the next videos. Videos created specifically for men who are trying their best. Just like you, you are not alone. This community is here to support you, and so am I. Thank you for giving your time to your own health today. That already says so much about who you are. A man who doesn't give up, who refuses to slide downward, and who is willing to learn how to take back control of his body. I want to remind you of something important. Everything I share here is for general health education. It does not diagnose, does not treat disease, and cannot replace an in-person consultation with your own doctor. Every body has its own story, and you deserve advice that fits your story. I'm Dr. Emily Carter, and this is Senior Men Health Secrets, a place where we don't just talk about living longer, we talk about living stronger, living confidently and living with the true power of being a man. I'll see you in the next video.